Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Completely Clear Community Development from Populace Community Strategies. I'm Dominique Anderson, CEO of Populace, and consultant for affordable housing development, educator for diverse developers, and passion pusher for all things inclusive community development. At Populace, we're on a mission to create thriving communities across the Southeast and beyond. I'm excited to introduce our new channel where we'll share educational content about affordable housing, community development, where you can find money, and how to make key partnerships to build more affordable housing and shape thriving communities. We'll also host webinars and live streams on our channel with experts, Q&A sessions, and interactive events. But most importantly, we'll make this completely clear. That is our goal, is to talk about affordable housing and community development and all of these things that seem really ethereal in ways that are realistic and tangible for our audience across all levels of expertise and community. So today we're going to kick this thing off with discussing a pressing issue that affects so many individuals, right? And communities in Tennessee and the Southeast and the South and the world and the globe, the affordable housing crisis. We have to kind of start at a same space and place. What affordable housing is and is not. Affordable housing is not just Section 8. Also, let's note, there is nothing wrong with Section 8 housing done well, maintained well. There's housing that should afford safe, healthy, affordable living for all individuals and across a range of spectrums. So Section 8 housing is a tool in the toolbox. And individuals that live in Section 8 housing, there's nothing wrong with them. So we have to take our NIMBY, not in my backyard, our biases, and put them on a shelf, or actually in the garbage, and understand that affordable housing isn't just Section 8. There's so much more to this issue. So the affordable housing crisis, it's complex. And in our region, for example, in Tennessee, it's where I hail from, is, affordable housing anywhere means to have safe, decent, affordable, sustainable, resilient homes. And there are a lot of individuals and families that are struggling to find housing they can afford. It doesn't just affect one group of people, it affects everyone. And we'll talk about the trickle down from not having housing and how it affects every part. It's an ecosystem, it affects every part of our world. And if you know me and you've heard me speak, you know that I'm always going to say that all roads lead back to real estate. So what's the cause of this crisis? How do we get here? There are several factors, but we're just going to talk about a few today. And then, of course, as we go through different parts of this conversation and we walk through our YouTube channel, we'll always touch on different things that affect and solutions to complete and hopefully one day eradicate this issue. Economic growth is a really great place to start, right? So as Tennessee, for example, in the Southeast and everywhere as it grows, let's look at Nashville. Nashville chased becoming the it city, right? And so they got it. And everybody knows Nashville and everybody loves Nashville. And Nashville is taking everybody in. And we're seeing this in different places. And I see it starting in Memphis. I see it starting in other cities in Tennessee that people are discovering. And really, COVID was a great place for that, because once people were stuck at home and then once people started doing remote work, they figured, well, I can go anywhere. So it started slowly people moving. It actually started before that. And I will be a bit biased that we have some of the most beautiful tree-lined areas in Tennessee, right? So and there's a lot of, valley and hill areas. There's hills that we can live on where you can see the trees. So we have some beautiful landscape in Tennessee, but Nashville's closed. We can't have any more company. So don't hear me and say, oh, I want to move to Nashville. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. But it's welcoming. And so as we saw, Nashville make a play for everyone to come there, hospitality grew, everything grew. We even became a hub for healthcare and IT entrepreneurship. So people came, and the cost of living at one point was lower. But as more people come and there's more demand for housing, well, now people that sell the housing and build the housing figure, well, if you have people coming from places where housing was much more expensive and they're used to less and paying more, then let's start that model here in Tennessee. So that became, that economic growth became a positive and a negative for small towns and medium-sized towns in Tennessee and other places. Income disparities. So as you have individuals that move in and they're making, let's take those home-based workers, right? They're working, they live in Tennessee, maybe they live in Nashville or some suburb of Nashville, and they're still working a Wall Street job, or they're working other jobs that pay them large amounts of money. So now they've already displaced the housing cost, but also everything can rise because you start having a larger demographic of individuals with a higher net worth who are moving into your city, but the wages aren't meeting everyone at the same space. So local people aren't getting paid the wages to keep up with the other wages that are coming into the region, right? That economic growth and the different wage earners. And so if we don't increase the wages, if we don't increase access to education for entrepreneurship and small business ownership, we see it, right? The demand for housing is going to start outpacing what people can afford. Property values go up, rental prices go up, wages stay the same. It's a problem, right? And so the individuals that are low to middle income aren't finding houses. Then I guess we could also get on the investors, the out of town investors who buy up blocks, but that's a whole nother conversation that we will have. They buy up whole blocks, instead of having properties for homeowners or even affordable rentals. They now make them, lipstick on a pig, meaning they paint them and they look nice, but maybe they're not the healthiest. And they now push this out at a higher dollar rate than is affordable to low to moderate income families and individuals. So economic growth, income disparities. And then we just have a lack of affordable housing units as a whole, right? So the shortage of affordable housing units, there's just not enough homes available for people who need them. Homes that at one point would have been affordable, that may have been 60, 70, 80, $90,000 are now 90, 100, 120, 130, $200,000. So we have smaller footprint homes that are way more expensive than they used to be. And they're in areas where people used to feel comfortable and know that I can go here and buy a house that I can afford. And that's just not an option, an opportunity anymore. So we have so many factors that are pushing people further out. The cost to build a home, if it cost $130,000 to build a home and someone can only pay $100,000, we have a huge gap for a developer or even a rehabber to be able to offer that at an affordable price. So now they have to go and make it market, what we call market rate, which means that there's no, lack of ability to pay that higher price. So everyone who can pay that higher price is winning, but we continue to be unable to build affordable, right? That range of housing. We can't build more of that at the lower end if we don't have more capital to put into the development, if we don't have more pots of money to bring down the cost of that house, right? Economic growth, income disparities, lack of affordable housing units. We need to incentivize developers to build more affordable housing. We need to talk to the lumber companies and really be on the side of the contractors and the home builders to help them legislatively and policy bring down the cost of help them advocate for affordable pricing for products, right? All of it plays together. It's an ecosystem. And then gentrification, or what I like to call negative gentrification, right? So when you have individuals, again, you have these people that move in to these towns and these communities with their thought from where they're from, and completely not taking into consideration where they're moving into. There's a lack of inclusive respect for communities. So the cost of things, they advocate for things that fit their lifestyle. This is where your dog parks start outpacing people parks. This is where your large chain coffee shops show up and displace your small mom and pop coffee shops or your small businesses, because people are more comfortable with that larger brand from wherever they're from, right? So people move in and displace the ecosystem that was already there. They also bring with them higher dollars. So now those more affordable, those ranges of housing are now disappearing because everybody's throwing larger money at housing. And that's negative gentrification, right? It squeezes people out. It squeezes out small business. It squeezes out housing at a range of levels. It can, those people, the individuals that move in may also say, you know what, these local schools aren't great, so we're going to send our kids to private school. But that means you're not putting money into and energy into your local area schools. So that shifts education. So it's a big funnel that it starts at the top and it funnels down. And this is how we get to this crisis. So economic growth, income disparities, the lack of units, and then negative gentrification. Those are some of the crises, the causes, right? The impact, we've touched on some of the impact on communities. It's profound and it's far reaching. So when you don't have enough affordable housing, what does that lead to? Of course, we know it leads to homelessness, right? If there's not places where people can afford to live, then they wind up living on the street. They wind up living in their cars. They wind up living, in places that are not the safest and the healthiest. Um, Young children wind up living in less than comfortable situations and less than ideal situations. It also affects health and education. You see that it now starts affecting health and education. If you can't afford safe, healthy place to live, you probably don't have health insurance because it's expensive, very expensive, and the whole insurance system is interesting. So you don't have a place to live. If you get sick, you probably don't have a primary care doctor. Your best resource is the ER. If you get sick enough, you go to the ER. You take your children to the ER. They get health care that way. Those are incredibly huge healthcare bills, right? Maintenance healthcare is considerably cheaper than ER healthcare, right? And now that's bills that are racking up. That affects the healthcare system because they now have tons of bills from individuals who can't afford to pay for the care they've received, right? That also means that you're not getting routine maintenance, so now you're getting sicker, and that leads to health for individuals. That leads to sicker children, at least the children who aren't getting consistent health care, inoculations, different things that they need. That means that it bleeds into education. Sick children don't go to school. They don't go to school. Eventually, they're going to get truancy. Now that's affecting parents. Parents are missing time from work because they're having issues and repercussions of their children not going to school. It also means, the early example that we talked about, that when you have people that come to your community, they move into your community, individuals move in who may not value that local school, so they send their children to private school. They're not paying into those public schools. They're not putting the energy into public schools, so they're never getting the shine and the focus they need to grow and be better. And so it's a trickle down that happens, and you have food insecurity. So you have children that are really only eating. You may have kids that are eating at school. They eat breakfast, they eat lunch. They may or may not have dinner. They may or may not have the healthiest version, so they can't get the brain food they need to do the best in the school. And all of this because you have parents who may be spending 80-90% of their income on some version of housing, right? Another effect of inadequate affordable housing, economic stability. If you're paying 90% of your income, or 60, 40, 50, anything over, the standard is 30, 35% of your income. When you're paying over that just for a roof over your head, that means that the entire region suffers. You don't have disposable income to stimulate the economy. You're not going to, shop for things. You're not supporting small businesses and coffee shops and different things like that. You're just trying to keep roof over your head. Maybe that means that you have to choose between utilities and, healthier food. You have to choose between utility and clothes that fit, shoes that fit. Like, it's a bigger problem and it touches everything. Again, all roads lead back to real estate. So it trickles down. And then, your community disintegration. When you have individuals who don't care about, they care about their plot of land, and they're going to keep that up. They're going to bring their ideals from where they are and tell people who've lived in this community for years, this is what you should think. This is how you should feel. This is how it should look. You've now shifted what people cared about and what was important to them. And when you come and you bring a different set of eyes, and you don't try to look and include yourself, but take over a community, it's going to shift. It's definitely going to shift that. And if you have individuals, if we feel like, well, nobody cares about us, we're only renting this and we don't care, even in the rental, we don't care. Nobody cares about us. We're just going to let it go, or we're going to move. We're going to move out of this community. Now you have empty houses, grass is growing, they become blighted. Communities lose small businesses because they can't afford to be there because there's no one there that can support them. So now you have just vast wastelands. Whew, take a minute. We've had a lot of negative conversation, right? So we talk about the problem, we talk about the effects. I'm a person that likes to move to solutions, maybe too fast sometimes, but I really like to know, how do we fix this? Right? So, in addition to being CEO and founder of Populace Community Strategy, I'm also the executive director for the Tennessee Affordable Housing Coalition across the state of Tennessee. We're dedicated, shameless plug, we're dedicated to addressing this crisis. Our mission is to connect, educate, and advocate for affordable housing for all Tennesseans, right? And so we are a 501c6, which means that we are rooted in legislative policy and advocacy. And so that's one of your solutions. Policy advocacy is huge. Understanding who your council person is, who works in your region, who's your mayor, what is their platform, what do they care about, what are they voting on, and then what votes are up, who's saying, hey, we should do this in housing, right? ADUs, for example, accessory dwelling units. If you have space and you can build a small house, or if you have space and there's a garage that can be converted, and if there's money in your municipal area, in your town or your city, where they'll pay for you to revitalize something on your property, or if there are funds that are coming federally and you need to spur your lawmakers to change and accept more money for rehab on a home so that you can age in place, because getting old is hell. I tell you, I've had to look after a mother and a stepfather, and just knowing it's expensive to get older and it's expensive to find senior housing. When you look at your social security, if you haven't done this, everybody go and look at your social security benefits. Like, go on that website and look and let it tell you how much you can get when you turn. First of all, the fact that you have to wait till you're 70 to really see some income, but at, let's say, 60, 65, 67, how much is the government going to give you? And who knows if that's going to be there when you're in your 60s, if you're not already. But if you're going to get, $1,200, $1,300, what are you going to do with that? Right? So we need to have advocacy that helps us create changes in houses that people already live in, age in place, get more money in these pots for care, right? Help seniors live in their homes and not have to give money back when if something happens to them. So, advocacy, we need to be up to date on what bills are moving, how we can have a voice, what organizations have a voice, how do we get aligned with them. Community partnerships, right? So community partnerships are key because, you have to collaborate with organizations that like Populace, we're out here trying to make sure that communities thrive and we look at every different angle. But who are the policy individuals, the planners, the urban planners? Who are the individuals that are saying, let's fix this piece? What nonprofits are doing that? How do you partner with them? The Black Clergy Collaborative in Tennessee, that I can speak of specifically in Tennessee and Memphis and Nashville, is really making conversation about, what land do we have, what housing do we have, what's our real estate space, and how can we contribute, because we are ground zero for, our parishioners who really are dependent on us to help. So how do we get into this conversation? How does, we have these huge parking lots? Can we use some of that space? There's a lot of opportunity. So these partnerships are key. Your housing authorities, nonprofits, community development finance, CDFIs, institutions, like there's a lot of partnerships that need to happen. And then education. Our channel, we are dedicated, and our company is dedicated, where our model is education. My background is in education. I come from educators, in addition to being, in PR and different things, but I'm a teacher by nature. And I think that I know that we have to educate ourselves. You don't know what you don't know, and you can't fight what you don't know, right? So once we know, here's the issue, here's how we fight, here's where we find some money to really support us, then we can go do that, right? So we have to raise awareness about the importance of affordable housing and its impact on communities. So, some of our solutions: policy advocacy, community partnerships, education. Woo, we got a lot done today, right? I think so. The affordable housing crisis is a major challenge, but, with collective action, we can make a difference. Right. So I want everyone that's watching today, I want you to join us. Join us on our mission to ensure safe, healthy, resilient, sustainable, affordable housing for everyone. I would be remiss if I didn't do the usual YouTube: subscribe to our channel, share this video, and then let's create a brighter future for communities. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, come back, share. And I believe that we can make a difference. I know in Tennessee, in the Southeast, and the world, if we understand and we come together to make this difference. Again, I'm Dominique Anderson. I look forward to seeing you all in the future. Adios.